Hello gang, today we are talking the Quacks of Quedlinburg. Quacks of Quedlinburg is a family weight board game for 2 to 4 players, in which players are going to be reaching into their bag, taking out some chips and adding them to their potion in order to score victory points and prove that they are the biggest quack doctors of Quedlinburg. You'll notice that the game I have has a box that looks like this, however they have redesigned the art so that the box instead looks like this. And if you have that version, don't worry, it is exactly the same game, the rules are still exactly the same, so you can continue watching this video. Let's get started by setting up. Hand each player a potion board in a colour of their choosing. They will also need the flask, which you place on your board, the side up that has the potion in it, of course. Also, you'll need a teardrop token to put in the middle at 0, and you will also need a rat's tail token in your corresponding colour, which will be used later on in the game. Some people's rules say that you start with a ruby as well. In my rulebook it doesn't say that, but I don't really see the harm in starting with a ruby, so long as each player does it in that case. You'll also need to place this board in the middle of the table. This is where we're going to be counting the victory points along the edges, as well as which round we're in along here, and there's also some reminders for what we do when we're evaluating the points. Make sure that's in the middle of the table and everyone can see and reach it easily. You'll also need to prepare this marketplace of colourful chips. Simply place, as I've done now, the colourful chips in different piles, with a corresponding book in their colour. The books basically define what the chips in that colour do, so a blue chip will do what it says here. The orange ones, good to know, there is only one book that does the same thing, so orange ones are very consistent. The black one is a little bit special. You have this side up if you're playing 2-player. If you're playing 3 or 4-player, you turn it over and have that side up over there. When you're playing the game for the very first time, it is recommended that you look for the bookmarks at the bottom. You see here there's 1 bookmark. If you flip it over, there are 2. It's recommended when you're playing for the first time that you have them the side up that has 1 bookmark on it. And again, the books basically just define what a red token or a green or blue token actually does. Each player will also need their own bag that you're going to fill up with chips as the game goes on. You start with 1 orange chip, 1 green 1 chip, 4 white 1 chips, 2 white 2 chips, and 1 white 3 chips. Place all of these in your bag and give it a good old shake. And then somebody takes the fortune teller cards, and at that point you are set up and ready to play. Setup really is that simple. As an overview, what you're going to be doing in this game is you're going to be taking chips out of your bag and placing them in your potion. I'll go through in a little bit about where you place these chips, because that depends slightly on the numbers. But the decision you have to make during this game is, when do I stop pulling things out of my bag? Because if you take too many of the white chips so that the numbers on them add up to being more than 7, then your potion is going to explode, which is either going to cost you victory points or it's going to stop you being able to buy better chips for future rounds. So you really, really don't want your potion to explode. But of course, the more things you take, the more points you can get, the more money you can get for buying better chips. It's a bit of a dilemma that you're going to face. That's a bit of an overview, but let's go through that in a bit more detail. Each round will start by the first player revealing the top fortune teller card. In this case, it says the threshold for white chips is raised in this round from 7 to 9. This will then apply for every player for the rest of the round, and when this has been revealed and read and understood by everybody, then we can move on to filling our potions. So you'll notice that the potions have spiraling numbers all the way around. What's going to happen is I'm going to take some chips out of my bag, and in this case I've taken a white chip with a number 2 on it. What I do is I start here and I go 1, 2, and I place it there. If, however, I were to take a chip with a number 1 on it, then I start from here and I go 1 space and I place it there. if I take another number 2, I start here, 1, 2, and then it goes over here. And then I'm going to carry on that way until either I decide not to take any more, because at this point the white chips add up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I go above 7, then my potion's going to explode. But I also know there's some more white 1 chips, which would be okay to take, and also there's an orange 1 chip in my bag somewhere. So I could take them out and then get further along, but equally I'm running the risk at this point of taking a 3. I'm a bit of a scaredy cat, a bit of a chicken, so I'm going to stop right there. This place that I've then stopped in front of, that is the number 8, which basically means I have 8 money for buying more chips for next round, which I'll go through in a little bit. The number 1, as you see there in the brown, that then gets me 1 victory point. Had I been a little bit braver, and let's just see, let's say I would have taken out 1 more chip. Yep, I would have got 9 money to spend on better coins. On better chips, sorry, I would still have got 1 victory point, but because there is a red ruby on that one, that would get me a red ruby that I can use for next, I can use in the future. The potions you can use, so let's say I've just taken this white 1 chip out of my bag, and I don't particularly want to use it, I don't want to put it there. What I can do is I can use this potion, I flip it upside down to show that it's been used, and then I put this number 1 back into my bag and then continue as normal. You're not, however, allowed to use this if the potion has just exploded. When each player has either exploded or decided to stop adding to their potions, we move on to the evaluation phase, which consists of these 6 steps. First up is the dice. Basically, the player who got furthest along their spiral track inside the potion gets to roll the bonus dice. This could be, for example, that you get a free orange chip that you can add to your potion. It could be that you get victory points. It could be that you get more victory points. You could get a ruby. You know, there's all sorts of bonuses that you could get. Then we move on to this stage, which is any player that has a black, green, or purple chip inside their potion. Well, basically you have to read what it says in the black, green, or purple books, but they will get some kind of advantage from those chips that is beneficial now. We saw earlier that some people will get a ruby for where they finish in the track. This is the point where they get that. And then at this point, we have collecting victory points and buying new chips. Very important here, if your potion has exploded, you can either take victory points or buy new chips. You can't do both. Since my potion didn't explode, I got 1 victory point, so I'll move that along 1 space, and I'll use the 8 money that I had to buy better chips. I'll show you how that works in just a second. After everybody's bought chips, though, you can optionally spend 2 rubies to either refill the flask, which is lovely, or to move the teardrop along 1 space, which I'll show you about after I've shown you how buying the chips works. So, buying better chips. Where I stopped in my potion, I had 8 money at my disposal. Basically, the price of the different chips is revealed in the book here. So if I want to buy a blue chip, if I want to buy a blue 1, that will cost me 5. If I want to buy a blue 2, that will cost me 10. A blue 4 will cost me 19. The differences between a blue 1, a 2, and a 4, well, primarily it's how far along the track you're allowed to move, but also in some cases, like the blue 1, for example, it has a special bonus effect, which again, you can read very easily in the rules. In this case, I had 8, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an orange 1, which costs 3, and I'm going to take a blue 1, which costs 5. Had I been a little bit braver and gone for 1 more chip so that I got 9, maybe I could have got this a red 1 instead, which costs 6, but I wouldn't be able to afford it. If you have change, that gets immediately discarded, so use up all your money now. You don't get to keep it for future rounds. And I also need to say that you can maximum buy 2 chips. You can't buy more than that, no matter how much money you've got and no matter how cheap they are. Also, if you are buying 2 chips, they have to be of different colours. You can't buy 2 orange, for example, or 2 of any of the same colour. I mentioned as well that you could optionally spend 2 rubies to move the teardrop along one space. Basically what that does then, if I move that from here to here, then next round when I start taking chips, I basically start 1 further along the spiral. So taking a 1, it would go there, rather than if this was here, then it would be from there. So you basically get a little bit of a head start. And when you're done with that, place the chips that you just bought into your bag, as well as the chips from your potion back into your bag, and then you are ready for round 2. When you're ready for round 2, simply move the yellow flame from the 1 to the 2, and this will count how many rounds that you have played. At the start of round 2, the yellow chips are suddenly available to buy in the market. At the start of round 3, the purple chips are suddenly available to buy in the market. And at the start of round 6, each player will get an extra white 1 token. Also, there's a brilliant catch-up mechanism in this game, where what you do is you look at the victory points that each player has. Let's say the green player is here, the yellow player is here. And what you do is you count the number of these rat's tails that are between the player's markers. So in this case, there is 1 rat's tail here between the green and the yellow player. So what would happen then is that the yellow player would go to their board, they would take the rat's tail token, and they would place it 1 space past the droplet. This has the same effect as moving the droplet. You basically start a little bit further around, and it's a way of catching up to the leader. When you're a little bit behind, you can basically start a little bit further in front of them the next round. And fundamentally, gang, it really is as simple as that. The only other rules that you need to know are that for the last round, the 9th round, each player will be drawing simultaneously. What you'll be doing is you'll be putting your hands into your bag, you'll be holding it up like this, and then revealing at the same time. This is because during the last round, players might have a slight advantage of seeing, oh, they've already exploded, so I'm actually going to carry on drawing more chips. Or they've already given up, so I might as well stop before I explode. It stops people having that advantage of seeing what people have already done, so it's all done simultaneously. I have heard of people playing like that for all 9 of the rounds. I think it would be a little bit too time consuming, but whatever floats your boat. Apart from that, the only other rule you need to know, very, very important, is that you must subscribe to this channel. I have a... I could almost say that with a straight face. I have a review video coming next week, and I really, really like this game, so I'd love it if you hung around to watch that video as well. But in the meantime, do enjoy Quacks of Quedlinburg. It's a fantastic game. I'm very glad you watched. Thank you very much. Goodbye, take care, and don't explode. Take care.